Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ blessed. My name is Brother Zerubbabel,
My name is Idris Elazar.
and we are children of Israel. And we are back again on this Sabbath day to bring out another lesson as usual. That's what we're doing on the Sabbath. Um, as you can see from the title of the lesson, we're continuing on with these Job series of lessons that we've been going through over the past month or so. Um, and we're going to be on these for a while. But we'll be on these Job topics for a while. If you haven't read the book of Job, you haven't tried to analyze the book of Job, go through the precepts, um, you should do so. Um, because there's a lot of hidden gems within the book of Job that answers a lot of questions, asks a lot of questions and answers a lot of questions that you may have about certain topics in the scriptures, things of that nature. And I'm sure you will find, as we have, that as you go through Job, it will become clear to you that some people have not read Job. And you know that based on many of the doctrines that they teach, um, many of the debates that they may have. It asks a lot of questions, answers a lot of questions. It's got a lot of precepts in there that um, answers a plethora of questions in regards to different doctrines in the scriptures. We'll get more in detail with that as we go through the lesson. The name of this lesson, though, is "How Much Less in Them That Dwell in Houses of Clay." So as we go through this lesson, you're going to get understanding of what the houses of clay are. Um, the houses of clay, we are the houses of clay, are these mortal bodies that we are put into that have been formed and shaped by the Most High. The Most High is the potter, we are the clay. And our lives on this earth are mere shadow, as you will hear and read in the scriptures, or read and hear in the scriptures, that our time here goes by quick. As you go through the lesson, you're gonna see that we're gonna go through precepts that are gonna showcase that. Um, just think back, even for myself, I could think back to when I graduated high school. In my mind, it doesn't seem like that long ago. But when you actually go back and look, I graduated high school in 1991. And here we are in 2024. It's been way over 30 years now. It's like, where did the time go? You know what I mean? It's like from 17, I remember turning from 15 to 16, 17 to 18, the 20 to 21, the 24 to 25, 29 to 30, and then, 39 to 40, 49 to 50. And, now at 51, I'm looking back like, where did the time? The scriptures are right. It just goes by quick. It's like in a blink of an eye, you blink your eyes, and next thing you know, you're much older with gray hairs and looking at the time and like, where, what happened? Where did it go? And that's what this lesson is going to, Lord's will, open your eyes to that fact that our time here it's not that long. And it's how you live in that time, if that makes sense. It's what you do, what you accomplish in those mere seconds, minutes, hours, days, months, years, however many years you may end up having. How did you live your life? What did you do? Unfortunately, in today's society, people are rewarded based on how much money they make. That's what in America deems somebody successful. It has nothing to do with your character or how you treated people, the good things that you've done, which is keeping God's commandments. But people are rewarded basically just, if he's rich, he's got a lot of money, then he's good, or she's good. They went to school, they got an education, they got a good paying job, and they bought a house in the suburbs. They're good. Even though they treat people like garbage, they're always starting trouble. Whatever the case is, they're not a good person. But America and the world now will deem that person a good person. So as we go through this lesson, how much less than them that dwell in houses of clay, you're going to find that the Most High doesn't put much stock into us, his children, into us, his servants. And that's what this lesson is somewhat going into. Because if he's not putting his trust into his angels, into his people, the question is, how much less in them that dwell in houses of clay? If he won't even put trust into his angels, what makes you think he's going to put any trust into us? And that's one of the problems with us in this flesh, is that we put too much trust into others that are also living and dwelling in these houses of clay. And we've got to learn to stop doing that, putting our trust into mortal men instead of putting our trust into the Most High. So we're going to get into it. Again, this is another one of those lessons that should make you think, let you understand that our people need to be retaught because they have not learned this Bible. We're going to go through precepts in this lesson that should answer some questions. As you know, the Lord speaks in similitudes, metaphors, and some of these precepts will answer some of those similitudes, answer some of these metaphors, as to what some of these words mean that you may read in the scriptures. All right. So let's first open up with Hebrews 5:12-14 as usual.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 5 and verse 12. For when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are begun such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil.
And again, we always go back to this every Sabbath, that many of us have got to go back and look at who we're learning from, analyze the teachers that we see teaching. Don't just get caught up in words, you know what I mean? Because there are a lot of people on YouTube that are really good with words, you know what I mean? They got the gift of gab. They're con men, a lot of them are used car salesmen. That's the pitches that they give. They have that used car salesman vibe about them. You got to be careful of it. You really got to go do your homework and do your due diligence and search the scriptures daily as to what they're teaching, if it's so or not. We're going to stick to the precepts. We're going to stick to what's written. Precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. And we found that when you do that, you can't go wrong. You're going to get wisdom, you're going to get knowledge, you're going to get understanding of the script, right? And again, that comes down to, what are you exercising yourself in? All right, let's go to 1 Peter 2:2.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 2 and verse 2. As newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby.
So again, we're going to be bringing you this milk become as a newborn babe and desire it. Once the lessons are done, go back, rewatch them, have your notebooks and pens, write notes, and again, search for yourself and analyze if what we're teaching is actually what the scriptures are saying. You can't go wrong again, going precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. When you deviate from that, that's when you have issues. When you put your trust and belief in men, that's where you go wrong. And you're going to see that today, because there are a lot of men online teaching doctrines that they learn from other men. And when you go back and analyze what some of these men that they learned from were teaching and their character, you will find that many of them had, many of them didn't have the best character. I'll just put it that way. And even today, there are some of the men that are teaching in this truth that they don't have the best character. So with that, let's get into this lesson. Again, dealing with these Job topics, how much less than them that dwell in houses of clay. Let's go to the book of Job, and we're going to open up with Job chapter 8. Going to read verses 8 through 10.
The book of Job, chapter 8 and verse 1. Then answered Bildad,
Job 8.
Oh, Job 8 and 8. Okay.
Job 8, 8
The
through
book
10.
of, perfect. The book of Job, chapter 8 and verse 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. For we are but of yesterday, and know nothing, because our days upon the earth are a shadow. Shall not they teach thee and tell thee, and utter words of their heart?
So again, we're being told, for inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. We've got to always go back and look at the past and look at what our fathers did. A lot of the iniquities, a lot of the sins that our forefathers did, a lot of the problems that our nation went through. A lot of the time, a lot of the captivities that actually all the captivities that we went through, we brought upon ourselves. Our men and our women, our children have suffered, but did we really have to go through these things? No, we didn't. We had a choice. We could have listened to what the Most High said and avoided it. But again, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. That's why we today have got to go through these scriptures, read about how our forefathers lived, read about what they went through, the decisions that they made, so that we don't make the same bad decisions, so we don't go through the same things. All right. So that's why we got to search out our forefathers, and Lord willing, we will learn something. Even being able to ask our grandparents, great grandparents, if possible. We should be able to go to them and ask. In many cases, we're not able to today because of, unfortunately, the situation we're in. But they're supposed to be able to teach you and tell you about your history, your family history, your nation's history. And so that way you can grow as an Israelite, as a person. It says, for we are but of yesterday and know nothing, which is true. We come and go. It says, because our days upon earth are a shadow. Think of a shadow. You're walking down the street, your shadow is there. You can see it. It moves about you as you're moving, depending on what direction you move with the sun. Your shadow moves around you, but then you walk behind a building and the building blocks the sun. The shadow quickly disappears. It's gone. You walk from behind the building, the shadow reappears again. That's how our life is, like that disappearing shadow. It could happen in an instant. It's just instantaneous. That's how quick we go, especially in regards to the time of the Most High. We don't have that much time on this earth. So while you're here, you better make the best of it. And again, it comes down to how did you live? Because there are a lot of people in this world that, unfortunately, you got to look at how they live, and it's like a wasted life. You know what I mean? There are many people in this world that waste these days, wasted time doing nothing. Or in some cases, they're doing a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of something that's nothing. Like doing drugs, iniquity, gang banging, violence, robbing and stealing, all this effort that you see these robbers, these thieves, they spend all this time planning and carrying out these robberies and home invasions and car robberies, where if they took that same energy and put it towards doing something good, their lives would be completely different. Same thing with the drug addict, drug dealer. It's the same thing, a pimp prostitute situation. It's wasted time, wasting your life away. And the next thing you know, they wake up one day, they're in their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, and now they're looking at their life and going, man, where did it go? What happened? What did I accomplish in this life? And unfortunately, many of them got to accept the fact that, you know what, I wasted my life. It was a waste. And that's what we want to teach the kids, that you don't want to wake up 30, 40, 50 years from now and regret how you lived your life. You don't, you know what I mean? You don't want that, especially if you said or did things to hurt others. And that's what people are going to remember you by the, the way you treated them. If you treated them bad, you called them names, you beat people up, bully people, whatever the case is. You don't want that on your conscience in your last days, your last remaining days. All right. Again, because our days upon earth are a shadow, shall not they teach thee and tell thee and utter words out of their heart? And that's talking about our fathers. They should be teaching us. They should be telling us. They should be uttering the words from their heart or their mind, from their memory of how things should have gone or did go. All right, let's go to Psalms 144:4. This is going to say the same thing.
The book of Psalms, chapter 144 and verse 4. Man is like to vanity. His days are as a shadow that passeth away.
Man is like to vanity. His days are as a shadow that passeth away. Let's go to Job 14:1-3.
The book of Job, chapter 14 and verse 1. Man that is born of a woman is a few days and full of trouble. He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down. Start over. Did I cut out?
Yeah, it froze up.
Okay. Starting at 1 again. Job 14:1. Man that is born of a woman is of a few days, full of trouble. He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down. He fleeth also as a shadow and continueth not. And thus and dost thou open thine eyes upon such an one, and bringeth me into judgment with thee?
So again, man that is born of a woman is a few days and full of trouble. That's our life on this earth. We have very few days. We don't have the number of days that our forefathers had back then when they were living 900 years, 800 years, 500 years, even some that made it to over 100 years. It's rare to hear that nowadays, that somebody's living over 100 years. The days are few. And in this time, we're full of trouble. We probably have more days of trouble on this earth than good days. If you took a step back and analyze, how things go from day to day, you'll see that there's more bad times and bad days than there are good. He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down. He fleeth also as a shadow and continueth not. So just like a flower that springs up, that flower, it starts out as a seed, just like we do in the womb. You could see the comparison. We sprout, we spring up, we grow, just like a flower. We grow. Now, it depends on what kind of water and nourishment, what kind of soil, how good the roots are in this flower as to whether or not it's going to be able to spring up into a nice, beautiful flower. Same thing with us. What are we planted with? What kind of seeds are we being planted with? That's going to determine what kind of flower we spring up into. Are we going to spring up into one of those beautiful flowers that's got strong roots, that's not going to wither away? Or are we going to come up and be one of those flowers that have no roots? It dries up, the petals fall off, it decays and it dies, and it's weak. All right. So you got to see the comparisons. He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down. That's ultimately what's going to happen. It's no good. Why leave it sitting there in your yard or in your garden if it's an eyesore? So you're going to cut it out. That's how the Most High is going to do with us. We become an eyesore to him. He's going to get rid of us. He fleeth also as a shadow and continueth not. And dost thou open thine eyes upon such an one, and bringest me into judgment with thee? All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Let's go to Psalms 103 and verses 15 through 16.
The book of Psalms, chapter 103 and verse 15. As for man, his days are as grass, as a flower of the field, so he flourisheth. For the wind passeth over it, and it is gone, and the place thereof shall know it no more.
All right, so as we're going through this, you should see these precepts or answering some of the questions that you may have about, okay, this precept is talking about us as a shadow. It's comparing us to a shadow. How does that, what does that mean? We're being compared to a flower. What exactly does it mean? We're being compared to the grass. What is it? What does it mean? All right. As it says, as for man, his days are as grass, as a flower of the field, so he flourisheth. For the wind passeth over it, and it is gone, and the place thereof shall know it no more. So when that wind passed by, again, if it's dead grass, a dead flower, the wind's going to come, it's going to blow it away. The roots aren't going to be able to hold it into the ground. It's going to blow, it's going to break off, it's going to get blown down the street, down the sidewalk somewhere. As it says, for the wind passeth over and it is gone, and the place thereof shall know it no more. So the ground where that flower or that grass was planted is no longer going to know that plant, or know that grass, know that flower. And the same thing with us. We're going to one day return back to the dust of the ground, and nobody's going to remember us. The remembrance of us is going to pass from people's memories. They're going, you know what I mean? Unless they're your immediate family, most people, they may mourn that you're gone, but tomorrow they're going to be thinking about something else. Think about the number of celebrities that we've seen pass away in the past 5 to 10 years, 15, 20 years. How many people actually really remember? Remember, Michael Jackson died back in 2009. Look at how many at the time, the whole world. Now here it is, 2024. How many people are actually even talking about the passing of Michael Jackson or even thinking about it? There's very few. He's just been forgotten about. They're on to the new artists now. People are listening to the new music. You got new singers, new dancers, new artists. And there are some that still pay homage to Michael. Don't get me wrong. His legacy, is there. But overall, majority of people on this earth are not thinking about Michael. He's a long memory to them now. All right. And that's what happens to us. Again, as for man, his days are as grass, as a flower of the field, so he flourishes. For the wind passeth over, and it is gone, and the place thereof shall know it no more. Let's go to Isaiah 40 in verses 6 through 8.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 40 and verse 6. The voice said, cry. And he said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the godliness thereof is as the flowers of the field. The goodliness
thereof.
The goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever.
And so, again, this is answering that question, like, what does it mean? What is it talking about that we're like a flower of the field, or we're like grass? This is answering it. The voice said, cry, and he said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. So again, it's making that metaphoric comparison between people and grass. And it's going to tell us the such. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. So when you read about in the scriptures about the grass and things like that, it's talking about people. Just like when you read about trees, sometimes it's talking about people and not actual trees. Just like here, sometimes when the scriptures are talking about grass, it's not talking about actual grass. It's sometimes talking about people. All right. Again, the Lord speaks in metaphors. He speaks in similitudes. And that's why you got to go find these precepts so that you can get the answers as to what the scriptures are talking about. So we as people are like grass, like flowers, that we're going to die. We're going to pass away. We're not going to stay young and strong and beautiful and handsome our entire lives.
Right.
Your looks are going to fade. Your strength is going to fade. Your skin is going to fade. All of everything. Everything is going to get old. And then eventually you're going to pass away. You're going to go into the ground, and all that flesh upon your body is going to return back to the dust. It's going to return to ashes, and you're going to be gone. That's what we are, according to the scriptures. It says, the grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. So comparing us to the word of the Most High, the word of the Most High is never going to fade. It's never going to pass away. But we in these fleshly bodies are going to. So the word of the Most High is never going to go away. It's never going to die. It's never going to disappear. All right. Let's go to Psalms 102 and 11. We're giving you multiple precepts that are teaching us the same thing about the grass, about the shadow, and about the flower of the field.
The book of Psalms, chapter 102 and verse 11. My days are like a shadow that declineth, and I am withered like grass.
My days are like a shadow that declineth, and I am withered like grass. And again, same thing we've been talking about. our days upon this earth, they decline. You lose your strength. You lose that youthful beauty and that youthful, I guess, handsomeness. I guess the best word I could come up with in regards to men. Women, they call them beautiful. Men, they call us handsome. All right, but it declines. Your health declines. Your bones are not as strong as they were when you were younger. You have all kinds of aches and pains and ailments. Your internal organs don't function the way they did when you were younger. Your eyes don't function the way they did when you were younger. All of a sudden, you start to realize that things are getting more blurry and blurry as you get older. Next thing you know, you need glasses, reading glasses, and then eventually maybe just seeing glasses, period. So you can see things afar, see things near. That's what happens. We're like a shadow that declineth. Everything about us declines. You start to lose your hair, your head, especially for your hair starts to beat back. It gets thinner on the top. That's just a natural part of life. Some, here in America, they tell us not to embrace it. If you get old, it's, people are afraid of getting old. People don't want to embrace getting older. They want people to be stuck in a childlike state. And it's sad because you have a lot of grown-up, immature people running around this earth now. They're grown-ups in grown bodies, but their minds are still like children because they refuse to grow up. And that's a problem because you got a lot of childlike adults running around that don't know how to control their emotions, don't know how to control their tempers, don't know how to control their mouths, don't know how to control their actions. Okay. So we want to teach the kids better. And the only way we could teach the kids of the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans is through the scriptures. Give them this wisdom, give them this understanding and this knowledge so that they don't become one of those people out there in this world walking around, wandering this world lost. All right, let's go to 1 Chronicles chapter 29 and verse 15.
The book of First Chronicle, chapter 29 and verse 15. And it says, "For we are strangers before thee, and sojourners as were all our fathers. Our days on the earth are as a shadow, and there is none abiding."
For we are strangers before thee and sojourners, as were all our fathers. Our days on the earth are as a shadow, and there is none abiding. Again, showing us that our days go quickly on this earth. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 6 and 12.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 6 and verse 12. For who knoweth what is good for man in his life? All the days of his vain life, which he spendeth as a shadow. For who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun?
So, for who knoweth what is good for man in this life? Who knows what's good for us? Your pastor don't seem to know what's good for you. Your minister, your priest. Even in this truth, some of our teachers in this truth don't know what's good for men. Don't know what's good for. But you want who does know what for, and that's the Most High. He knows what's good for you. He told us much. He told us as much. Keeping his commandments. That's good for us. That's what's going to allow us to live a long, prosperous life upon this earth. He told us that over and over and over again. The problem is our people didn't listen. It says, for who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun? No man can do that. The Lord can tell you what's going to be thereafter, but no man can tell you. You have no idea what's going to be left, left here after you're gone. After you've withered away, you've passed away, you've been buried in the ground. You don't know what's going to come next. You don't know what's going to be happening in this life after you're gone. You have no idea. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 12.
The book of
All these
Ecclesiastes.
are precursor for this lesson. All right.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9 and verse 12. And it says, "For man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare, so are the sons of man snared in an evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them."
So here are some other terms. Now you're seeing men being compared to fishes. And that's why when it comes to like some of the parables of Christ, when Christ went up to the apostles and said, "I will make you fishers of men," he wasn't just making stuff up. Your Christian pastor will have you believe that was just something new Christ was bringing up in the New Testament. You will be fishers of men. The men are as fish. But everything Christ was teaching goes back to the Old Testament. That's how we know what Christ meant in his parable. "I will make you fishers of men, for man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net." When we go out to teach, that's what we're doing. We're going out and we're casting our hook. You're casting your line. That's the word. And those that are worthy, they're gonna bite. They're gonna bite the hook. But our people have got to be careful also, because there are some men out there that don't have your good in mind. That's some of our people getting caught up in an evil net. As it says, "For man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net." Birds that are caught in an evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. Some of our people don't realize, especially the ones that went running and voting for Donald Trump in this election. Our people shouldn't have been voting, period. But many of our people, they went running and voting for Donald Trump and have no idea what they've done. They have no idea what this man and his people have in store to fall upon them. And it's going to fall suddenly. We're in some evil times. And you got to open your eyes and see it. I've still got this little bit of a dry cough lingering. But you have to open your eyes and see it. Again, "For man also knoweth not his time." We don't know how much time we got here. We could be gone tomorrow. We're here today. We could be gone tomorrow. So you got to open your eyes. What's going on around you? You have to get into these scriptures so you know what times you're living in. Like even Christ said, I don't want to mess it up. Something to the effect of, talking about you can't discern that, you can't discern this time. Let me look at it. I'm getting ready to jack it up. Let me look it up. Just give me a second.
Matthew 16:3. Matthew 16.
But what is it?
Matthew 16 and 2, chapter verse 2, 3.
Matthew 15.
No, 16.
No, 16. Matthew 16 and verses. Yeah, there you go. All praises. All right, so you got it. Go ahead and read it real quick.
The book of Matthew, chapter 16 and verse 2. He answered and said unto them, When it is evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times?
So again, as it's saying, oh, ye hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky, but can you not the signs of the times? I was really so all praise you found it. But that's what's going on though. We can't discern the signs of the times, which is right in front of us, that we are living in this evil time that we've been being prepared for through the scriptures. We've been being warned. The warnings have been all throughout the scriptures telling us about these last days, going even all the way back to when we were being led through the wilderness. We have been being warned about these latter times, about what our people would be doing in these latter times, and about the atrocities we'd be going through, and the future times that are going to be coming from even today. And our people can't discern the times. As it says in Ecclesiastes 9:12, so are the sons of men snared in evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. If you haven't been in these scriptures, you haven't been preparing yourself, preparing your family of the things to come, it's going to fall upon you suddenly. You're going to get hit without warning and find yourself caught up, and it's not going to be good. All right. So again, we're like fish. We're being prepared to fish. Let's go to the book of Habakkuk. You're going to go chapter 1 and verses 12 through 17.
The book of Habakkuk, chapter 1 and verse 12. And it says, Art thou not from everlasting, O Lord my God, my Holy One? We shall not die, O Lord. Thou hast ordained them for judgment, and Almighty God, thou hast established them for correction. Thou art of pure eyes than to behold evil, and canst not look on iniquity. Wherefore lookest thou upon them that deal treacherously, and holdest thy tongue when the wicked devour the man that is more righteous than he, and makest men as the fishes of the sea, as the creeping things that have no ruler over them. They take up all of them with the angels. They catch them in their net and gather them in their drag. Therefore they rejoice and are glad. Therefore they sacrifice unto their net and burn incense into their drag, because by them their portion is fat, and their meat plenteous. Their meat plenteous. Shall they therefore empty their net and not spare continually to slay the nations?
Not spare continually to slay the nations. So again, men being compared to the fish of the sea as the creeping things that have no ruler over them. And so it's talking about the wicked, as it says in verse 13, thou art pure eyes than to behold evil, and canst not look on thou art of pure eyes than to behold evil, and canst not look on iniquity. Wherefore lookest thou upon them that deal treacherously, and holdest thy tongue when the wicked devoureth a man that is more righteous than he. That's why Esau hates us so much. The wicked hates the righteous. And what do they want to do? They want to devour us. Why? Because we're more righteous than they are. Every day they look at us, they're reminded of the evil people that they are. They don't want that remembrance around them. They like their children. You know what I mean? They're trying to take our history out of schools because they're saying that their children shouldn't be made to feel guilty for the atrocities that their great grandparents did and everything like that. But there's no way around it. They can't hide it. Nothing they can do. And it says, and make his men as the fishes of the sea, as the creeping things that have no ruler over them. They take up all of them with the angle, they catch them in their net and gather them in their drag. Therefore, they rejoice and are glad. So this is men casting out an evil net and catching our people up in an evil net. So that's where you could either be a fish getting caught up in an evil net, or you could be a fish getting caught up in a net of righteousness, which is what Christ and the apostles were doing. He was sending out the apostles to be fishers of men, to bring them to what? To righteousness. Whereas the wicked are going out to catch fish, to catch men, to do what? To get them caught up in an evil net, a net of evil. And as it says, therefore they rejoice and are glad. The wicked man, they're happy when they get you caught up in that evil net. Look at what's going on with not Kanye West, with P. Diddy and Jay-Z and, you know, some of these rappers that are, you know, the truth is coming out about how they've lived their lives. They thought they were going to get away with all this stuff that they were doing. They thought they could hang out with the wicked and act just as wicked or more wicked than the wicked themselves. They thought they can do the same things as the Jeffrey Epsteins, the Harvey Weinsteins. They thought they could do exactly what they do. But they're finding out they were wrong, that these men got them caught up in an evil net because they had something sinister waiting for them, something that they could use against them when the time comes, and destroy their character, destroy their legacies. They've done that to many of our people. They've allowed themselves to get caught up in that evil net. And in turn, they've gone out and caught their own people up in the evil net because they wanted to be like the wicked. They wanted to be like their oppressors. But now look at them. Their oppressors are sitting back laughing. They're glad. They're rejoicing. Okay, we got those two. Who's next? We got Bill Cosby. Who's next? We got Michael Jackson. We got Prince. We got R. Kelly. Who's next? I'm surprised with everything that comes out about African Bambaataa that they haven't gone after him. After they haven't said nothing about him. I guess maybe because he's not as rich as those guys, maybe, or, you know, not on the same level. I don't know. I don't know why they haven't gone after African Bambaataa. But what we're reading about with Jay-Z and P. Diddy is nothing new. African Bambaataa is, you know, known to have been molesting young boys for a long time, very long time. So it's nothing new what is happening right now. And, you know, the truth that's coming out, it's shocking when you're hearing about some of these stories about some of these rap artists, you know, that people thought were the most macho of macho men. That's the best word I could think of right now when it comes to, you know, you think of men, you know, these rappers, they're hard, they're gangster, they're hardcore. And now you're finding out almost all of them, 80-90% of them, I would even put it, were LGBTQ. I'll just put it that way. It's crazy to hear the names that are coming out that, you know, the men that's had relations with P. Diddy. It's crazy. It's like, who would ever thought? You know what I mean? You're hearing the stories about people like Ja Rule, Usher, you know, that's been out there for the longest time, Justin Bieber, but, you know, just people you would just be like, are you serious? That's crazy. It's sad. It's real sad that our people have allowed themselves to get caught up in this net again, and make as men as the fishes of the sea, as the creeping things that have no ruler over them. They take up all of them with the angle. They catch them in their net and gather them in their drag. Therefore, they rejoice and are glad. Therefore they sacrifice unto their net and burn incense into their drag, because by them their portion is fat and their meat plenteous. Shall they therefore empty their net and not spare continually to slay the nations? All right, let's go to Job 4:19.
The book of Job, chapter 4 and verse 19. How much less in them that dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth.
So hence the name of the lesson. How much less in them that dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth. All right. So to get some context to it, let's actually start up at verse 17 and read through 19.
Book of Job, chapter 4 and verse 17. Shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his maker?
And we got lessons based on those two also. Shall mortal man be more just than God? Got a whole lesson on that. Shall a man be more pure than his maker? Got a whole lesson on that too. As I said, we're going through Job and all these questions. When you go through Job, there's just a whole series of questions, hundreds of questions. And in Job and in other places of the scriptures, you will find the answers to those questions. So when people say that the book of Job is a parable, yeah, it is. And that's why when you hear people say stuff like they've got 100% truth, they're teaching the truth. And it's like, yeah, obviously you must not be, because some of the things that you're teaching could easily be answered if you read the book of Job, and you wouldn't be making some of these mistakes that you're making in your doctrines. But again, shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his maker? This is going directly to what we're talking about in how much less in them that dwell in houses of clay. You'll see as we read on. Go ahead.
Verse 18. Behold, he put on trust in his servant.
He put no trust.
Oh, behold, he put no trust in his servant, and his angel he charges with folly. How much less in them that dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth.
So basically, as it says, behold, he put no trust in his servants. These servants is talking about is his servants up in the heavens, and his angels he charged with folly. So if he can't put no trust into them, how much less in them that dwell in houses of clay? So if he can't put his trust into his own angels that are right there in the heavens with him, what makes you think he's going to put trust in us? He's not going to. How much less in them that dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth. We're going to go through and we're going to show you what this is talking about, dealing with the houses of clay, about, whose foundation is the dust, which are crushed before the moth. But you got to put it in the context so you understand what this is talking about. Shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his maker? No, you're not going to be more just than God. But like I said, we have a whole lesson on that, goes through precepts upon precepts upon precepts that answer the question, shall a man be more pure than his maker? Again, that word just, that word pure, that's why you got to go through the precepts. You get an understanding of what it means to be just, what it means to be pure. All right. What does it mean of them that dwell in houses of clay? Like, what's a house of clay? What does that mean? All right. So you got to go through the precepts. You got to find the precepts that answers those questions. These houses of clay are our mortal bodies. Just to give a simple answer to it. So if you ask, like, what are these houses of clay? What's that talking about? These houses of clay are mortal bodies. When we die, we return to the dust just as we were created of the dust. Remember, in Genesis, it said that he created man of the dust of the ground. And we were told that when we die, we're going to return back to the dust. Okay. These mortal bodies that we're in are made to be corruptible for the moths and insects to eat away at. You read about that in the scriptures. Hold on one second. I'm telling you this. I don't know why this dry cough is lingering. But that's what it means when it's talking about the houses of clay. All right, so we're going to get to that first. How much less in them that dwell in houses of clay? So those houses of clay, or we are those ones that dwell in houses of clay, and he's not going to have any, he's not going to put no stock in us. He's not going to put no trust in us. He can't trust us to do the things that he's asked us to do. It's like, again, like a parent that has that kid that's always messing up. They can't put any trust in them. You know, like they say, oh, you know what? Hey, we're going on vacation. They can't do that because they can't trust their kid that they're not going to throw a party in the house while they're gone, because they've already busted them 5 times doing it. Now they can't go on vacation no more. So every time we go on vacation, we come back, the house is wrecked because you threw a party. We can't trust you. It's that kind of thing, that kind of distrust that the Lord has with us, that he cannot trust us to follow his rules, to follow his law, his commandments. Just like those parents can't trust their child, their kid, to follow their house rules. Okay, we're going to go on vacation for the week. We're trusting you to, you know, to watch over the house. Don't let anybody in. No friends, no parties, nothing. But yet, as soon as the parents are gone, they're on the phone. Party at my house. It's on. It's jumping. It's cracking. Whatever words they use nowadays, I don't know. But next thing they know, they're having a full house party. The house is getting wrecked. Parents come back home and the house is all messed up. And like, what happened here? You have a party? Now they got to explain to the parents, and then it just keeps happening over and over again. At some point, the parents, you know, we can't trust you. We can't even go on vacation. We can't go anywhere and leave you here alone without you, you know, inviting your friends over, throwing a party, and we told you not to. All right. So that's how it is with us. The Lord cannot trust us. He can't do it. He can't put no trust into us. All right. But let's deal with the houses of clay. Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 10. You're going to read verses 9 through 22. I'm going to stop you here and there.
Job, the book of Job, chapter 10 and verse 9. And it says, remember, I beseech thee, that thou hast made me as the clay, and wilt thou bring me into dust again?
So again, here's some more of these questions in Job. Remember, I beseech thee, that thou hast made me as the clay, and wilt thou bring me into dust again? So again, we as people are being compared to clay. Another metaphor, metaphorically speaking. We're that clay. The Most High is what? He's the potter. We're the clay. And the question is, and wilt thou bring me into dust again? Are you really going to make me die? You're going to allow me to die and have to return back to the dust? That's the question. And obviously, the Bible answers the question that, yes, we will return back to the dust. But let's go ahead and read on here what it's saying, okay? Go ahead.
Hast thou not poured me out as milk, and curdled me like cheese? Curdled me like cheese.
Yeah.
Thou hast clothed me with skin and flesh, and hast fenced me with bones and sinew.
So he's telling you, I'm the clay. You're the potter. You made me. You formed the skin and flesh upon me. You put these bones and sinews together. Go ahead.
Thou hast granted me life and favor, and thy visitation has preserved my spirit.
So thou hast granted me with life and favor. You're the one that put this breath of life in me. You're the one that gave me favor. You're the one that chose me. And thy visitation hath preserved my spirit. It's like, are you really going to let me die? Go ahead.
And these things hast thou hid in thine heart. I know that this is with thee.
And I know that this is with thee. Read on.
If I sin, then thou makest me, and thou wilt not
Read
acquit
that. Read
me.
that again.
If I sin, then thou makest me.
Read it again.
If if I sin, then thou markest me,
There you
and
go.
thou markest me, and thou wilt not acquit me from my iniquity.
Equip me for my nigga. Actually, let's stop there for a minute because as we were saying at the beginning of the lesson, this is how you know that many of the leaders in Israel haven't really paid much attention to the book of Job. Because if they paid just the slightest bit of attention to it, you wouldn't have some of these doctrines that are being taught in Israel. That's why, again, you've got to really be circumspect about who you're learning from and what they're teaching. Are they following the precepts? Are they following their own vain opinion? All right. Because when you go through, the book of Job answers a lot of questions. And not just Job, the Bible period, the scriptures period, but there's a lot in the book of Job that answers a lot of these questions you may have. And it's because of this lack of study, this lack of understanding, and I'm just being honest about it, that there are some of these men that are online teaching that are leading camps and leading churches and groups that have no business doing it because they've got no understanding of the scriptures. They may talk a great deal. They may have the gift of gab. They can do a whole lot of debates and things like that. But when you actually go back and you analyze their doctrines, their teachings, and compare it to the scriptures, it makes you shake your head and be like, man, these guys got no understanding at all. Such as you've got people that are saying that Christ is not God, when the scriptures clearly show you and teach you that Christ is God. Okay. Some of these same men are debating the lunar Sabbath and swearing on the scriptures that the lunar Sabbath is the end all be all of Sabbath days and how we're supposed to follow the Sabbath. But when you compare that to the scriptures, there's a lot of flaws to that doctrine. A lot. These are the same men that are teaching multiple wives. When you compare that doctrine to the scriptures, the doctrine is not sound. It's not sound doctrine. All right. These are the same men that are walking around and teaching with baseball caps on. They go online, you see them teaching on the streets, and they got their ball caps on, still trying to look gangsta because they don't want to believe that the scriptures are telling us that a man that covereth his head is disrespecting our maker or disrespecting our king, disrespecting our leader. And you show that they show that they have no respect for our king by denouncing the fact that he's God, that he's God, he's our father, he's everything to us. They deny him. They're quick to deny him. These are the same men running around saying that the Lashawan Kodash is the pure language. We've been given the pure language. When the scriptures clearly tell us, wait ye upon me, then at that time will he return to the people the pure language.
Right.
Christ ain't came back yet. We're still waiting. But yet you've got men running around saying we've got the pure language because they've got no understanding of what the scriptures are talking about. These are the same men that's telling you what we're reading right now, that the mark of the beast is a computer chip. Well, we're going to deviate just for a little bit. I hate to have to do this, but this will kind of go hand in hand with this lesson to show you why the Most High cannot put his trust into us, because we've got men out here that will not listen to the scriptures. They will not listen to Christ. They will not do the things that the scriptures are telling us to do. And so they're teaching some of these doctrines. So if they're messing up something as important as the book of Revelation and what the mark of the beast is, and they're pretty much messing up all these other doctrines that we just named. We just named about 5, 6, 7 doctrines that they're clearly teaching wrong. But yet people flock to their channel. They've got men running to go join their group just so they could wear their colors and put on their t-shirts and say, I'm a part of Camp ABC, DEF, GHI, whatever, camp it is. They just want to be able to say, I'm part of this camp, without going and studying to find out if what they're teaching is sound doctrine. So we're going to, again, just give you a little bit of meat. I'm not going to do a whole breakdown of Mark of the Beast, but going to give you some insight so that you can understand the mark of the beast is not talking about a computer chip. As we're reading here in Job 10 and 14, if I sin, then thou markest me, and thou wilt not acquit me from mine iniquity. It's clearly here in the script. We're going to show you. This isn't the only precept. We're going to go through some precepts to show you that the mark of the beast is clearly sin. Because what's going to keep you from getting the kingdom? Is it getting the computer chip in your hand, or is it sin? Being an adulterer, being an idolater, being a thief, being a liar, being a murderer, being covetous. Aren't those the things that the scriptures tell us is going to keep you from getting the kingdom? Isn't that what Christ said would keep you from getting the kingdom? When he was asked, what do I need to do to receive eternal life? And he said, keep the commandments. It's a simple concept that for whatever reason, let's go to Revelation 13 and you're going to read verses 11 through 18. Going to deviate for a little bit, but it's going to go hand in hand with what we're teaching today. Like I said, I hate to do it, but unfortunately, at this point, you've got to, because these same men are, from what it appears, it's like they're trying to mock Bishop Nathaniel and IUIC and some of these other more known leaders in Israel, and they're not doing it sincerely wanting to edify the people. They're just going after these men because they're trying to build up their name in Israel, because they've started their new camp and they want to build their name up. They want to be known as the top camp, and they really think that their doctrines are outweighing the doctrines of what IUIC is teaching, I guess. Trying to go back and forth with IUIC about the lunar Sabbath is what I'm seeing right now. And all these doctrines that I just named are the doctrines that they're teaching. And so we're going to deal with another one, which is the mark. All right. Go ahead and read.
The book of Revelation, chapter 13 and verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
All right. So we're not going to break all this down. Like I said, we're not going to go through and break down all of Revelation 13. And then we're just going to stick to the point of what the mark is. All right. As far as the history, in fact, you go watch Bishop Nathaniel's classes on Revelation 13, where he breaks this down, as far as the beasts and all of that, who the beasts are and the deadly. He does a great job of breaking all this down. All right. I know I can't break it down the way he does it. You know what I mean? With the passion and enthusiasm he does. I understand it, but the way he brings it out is, like I said, it's just on a different level. And I go, why you keep bringing up Bishop Nathaniel? The more you watch the man, you can't deny. Okay. Just the fact that he's got understanding. All right. So, like I said, he's not perfect. He's got some flaws like many of our leaders have. But when you compare leadership compared to some of these other guys out there, no comparison. All right. But let's go ahead and read on, though.
And deceive them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that had understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
All right. So again, we're just going to stick to what the mark is for right now. We're not going to go through and break this down. We don't have time. And I really don't want to bring this out, but unfortunately you got to. All right. Because there's just too many doctrines out there that are not sound doctrine. Sound doctrine is sticking to the precepts. All right. So verse 16, he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So you're going to have to get the computer chip. You're going to have to, you're not going to be able to buy nothing. You're not going to be able to sell nothing unless you get the chip. And again, the computer chip is, if it actually does come to fruition, is just going to be a byproduct of people buying into the system. His system is iniquity, which you already see. You already see this playing out in live, 4K. If you don't go along with Esau's system, you go against the LGBTQ, you go against anything that they push out there, That's why you've got what's called cancel culture. That's what this is going into. It's not going into a computer chip, in that no man might buy or sell. If you own a business, like you've seen stories of people having like a what do you call it, a cake making business. Two men go into the cake making business and they say, hey, you know what, we're getting married, can you bake us a cake? And the owner of the business says, oh, you two are getting married? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I can't help you. I can't allow myself to go along with that. I'm sorry. Then they go to the press, they go to the lawyers, and next thing you know, they're going to social media, and this person's business is getting ostracized, getting killed, because they don't want to give into the LGBTQ lifestyle. Next thing you know, they're being canceled. Next thing you know, they're closing. We're seeing it play out already. So I don't know where these guys are, it's crazy. But again, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. So let's see, is it that Esau is going to be putting the mark in your right hand or in your forehead? Synopsis: the mark is sin. Your right hand represents your righteous works. Your hands represent your works. Your right hand represents righteous works. Your left hand represents evil works or unrighteousness. Your forehead is your mind, meaning that what? This mark is going to be put into your mind. Sin, iniquity is going to be put into your heart, put into your mind. Just to put it simple. All right. So again, going back to Job 14, Job 10 and 14, if I sin, then thou markest me, and thou wilt not acquit me from mine iniquity. If I sin, then thou markest me. Let's go to Job 16:12. Now again, let's go precept upon precept and see if this is talking about a computer chip, or is it talking about sin is the mark?
The book of Job, chapter 16, and verse 12. I was at ease, but he had broken me asunder. He had also taken me by my neck and shaken me to pieces and set me up for his mark.
Set me up for what?
For his mark.
And set me up for his mark. Who's the his? The mark that we're going to be getting, or is getting set up for. The his is talking about the wicked, Esau, Edom, the beast that you read about in Revelation. How do we know? Go up one precept to verse 11 and read 11 and 12 together and get some context. Go ahead.
Verse 11. God had delivered me to the ungodly and turned me over into the hands of the wicked.
And turn me over into the hands of the wicked. Now it should make sense. Go ahead.
I was at ease, but he had broken me asunder. He had also taken me by my neck and shaken me to pieces and set me up for his mark.
And set me up for his mark. What is his mark? Iniquity, sin, destruction. Let's go to Psalms 37 and 37.
The book of Psalms, chapter 37 and verse 37. Mark the perfect man, and behold, the upright. The end of that man is peace.
Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. So you either could be marked with righteousness or marked with for unrighteousness. All right. The perfect man is a man that's what? He's not in sin. He has no iniquity. He's been marked with the righteousness of the Most High. Or you could be marked with the mark of the beast, which is sin. Let's go to, let me see. Psalms 130:3.
The book of Psalms, chapter 130, and verse 3. If thou, Lord, shouldest mark iniquities, O Lord, who shall stand?
So what is that? 4 precepts showing you that the mark is iniquity, that it's sin. If thou, Lord, shouldest mark iniquities, O Lord, who shall stand? Showing you that the mark that we're reading about here in Job 16:12, Psalms 37:37, Psalms 130:3, these are the same marks. Job 10:14, the same mark that's being talked about in Revelation 13 when it comes to the mark of the beast. That the beast is going to mark you with sin in your right hand or in your forehead, meaning your works are going to be of what? Either iniquity or works of righteousness. Your right hand, oh my gosh, I'm telling seriously, it can be infuriating when you hear some of this stuff. It's like it's so easy to go look at the scriptures. Your right hand represents righteousness. Your left hand represents iniquity. Go to Ecclesiastes 10:2.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10, and verse 2. A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left.
A wise man's heart, meaning his mind, is at his right hand, but a fool's heart, meaning his mind, is at his left hand. Right hand, left hand, representing your work, your works.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on righteousness, unrighteousness? What's going to happen is the beast is going to make you believe that you're doing the works of the right hand. Hence, Christmas, he makes you believe that you're celebrating the birth of Christ. Easter, he makes you believe that you're celebrating the resurrection of Christ. Does that make sense? It's so simple to understand that I can't understand, like, how do these guys not get it? A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left. Maybe that's what it is, because their hearts are at their left hand, that they're fools, that they're just not going to get it no matter how much you try and show them. Maybe that's what it is. But again, it's simple. Let's go to Psalms 144:8, because this goes into what I just said.
The book of Psalms, chapter 144, and verse 8. Whose mouth speaketh vanity, and the right hand is the right hand of falsehood.
Whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood, such as the beast. His right hand, that's why he's going to make you take the mark in your right hand, is a right hand of falsehood. Everything that he's teaching is a lie, even though he makes the world and deceives the world into believing that everything he's teaching is righteous. Such as Christianity. Everything that Christianity teaches about the Bible is falsehood, but they make you and have you believing that you're doing righteousness, that you're doing the works of the right hand. Is that hard to understand?
Nope.
It's right here in the precepts. Whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. That's why you got to stick to the precepts, people. Let's go down to verse 11. Read verse 11.
Book of Psalms 144 and verse 11. Rid me and deliver me from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is the right hand of falsehood.
Saying the same thing as verse 8. Rid me and deliver me from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. Because what? The beast, their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. That's why he's going to have you take the mark of sin in your right hand, because he's making you believe that you are doing righteousness, when in actuality you're doing the works of the left hand. But everybody's been deceived into thinking they're doing the works of the right hand. It again, it is just so simple. And that was what, 144 and 11.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Let's go to, oh, here you go. Isaiah 41 and 10.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 41 and verse 10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yeah, I will help thee. Yeah, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness.
You see, we don't need no what do you call those? You know, the people got those little things with the booms and the, you know, the sound effects. We don't need any sound effects.
Yeah,
The scriptures speak for themselves. No sound effects needed.
right.
I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness, because the Lord's right hand is of righteousness. The beast's right hand makes you believe it's a right hand of righteousness, but it's actually not. So again, what is it that's going to keep us out of the kingdom? It's sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let me see. Let's go to Revelation 9 and 4.
The book of Revelation, chapter 9 and verse 4. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their forehead.
Which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. So why is the beast going to make you take the mark in your right hand and in your forehead? Because in your forehead is where your mind is at. Right here, your brain, your mind, right there in your skull. What is that seal? But only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads.
Right.
What is he talking about? Let's go to Song of Solomon 8 and 6. Why is he going to make you take the mark in your forehead? Because that's where your brain is located. As you heard us say plenty of times, that this is a battle for the minds of our people. Solomon 8.
The book of Songs of Solomon, chapter 8 and verse 6. Set me as a seal upon thy heart, as a seal upon thy arm. For love is strong as death. Jealousy is cruel as the grave. The coals thereof are coals of fire, which have a most vehement flame.
So set me as a seal upon thine heart, meaning upon your mind. What is it that's being sealed in your mind? You could either have the righteousness of the Most High sealed upon you, which is his law, or you could have the seal of iniquity, sin, sealed into your heart, into your mind. Go to Isaiah 8 and 16.
Isaiah 16.
We're
The
not
book of
making this stuff up, people. Go and start research it for yourself. Go read the scriptures. Stop listening to some of these men that are running around that are so disingenuous in their teachings of this Bible.
the book of Isaiah, chapter 8 and verse 16. Line up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples.
Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. So when you're being sealed with the seal of God, which is righteousness, which is his law, or you could get sealed in your forehead with the seal of the beast, or the mark of the beast, which is what? Iniquity, sin, unrighteousness. Let's go to last. This will be the last. Let's go to 2 Timothy 2 and 19.
Uh, Second Timothy, the book of Second Timothy, chapter 2 and verse 19. Nevertheless, the foundation of God standeth sure, having this seal: the Lord knoweth them that are his, and let everyone that nameth the name of Christ depart from iniquity.
Does that not sum it up?
Right?
Nevertheless, the foundation of God standeth sure, having this seal. What seal? His laws, his commandments, his righteousness. The Lord knoweth them that are his, and let everyone that nameth the name of Christ depart from iniquity. Depart from iniquity. That's what's going to keep you from getting the kingdom. That's what it is. All right. So actually, in fact, we get somewhat of a jump. Read from 19 down to 21. Actually, read to 22. Just go to 21. Oh, 22. Sorry.
20 to 22. Right. The book of Second Timothy, chapter 2 and verse 19. Nevertheless, the foundations of God stand sure, having this seal: the Lord knoweth them that are his, and let everyone that nameth the name of Christ depart from iniquity. But in great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some of honor and some of dishonor.
And some to honor and some to dishonor. You either could be a vessel that's brought to honor, you could be a vessel that's brought to dishonor. Go ahead.
If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work.
So if a man therefore purge himself from these, purge himself from what? Iniquity. As it says, let everyone that nameth the name of Christ depart from iniquity. If you depart from those iniquities, depart from that sin, if you purge yourself from it, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet, meaning good for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work. Not everybody that comes into this truth is good for the master's use. The Lord can't use you. Go ahead.
Flee also youthful lust, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace. With them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart.
With them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart, pure mind. You can't make this stuff up. If you stick to the precepts, you cannot go wrong. So now let's go back to Job chapter 10 and start back at 9 again.
The book of Job, chapter 10 and verse 9. Remember, I beseech thee, that thou hast made me as the clay, and wilt thou bring me into dust again? Hast thou not poured me out as milk, and curdled me like cheese? Thou hast clothed me with skin and flesh, and hast fenced me with bones and sinew. Thou hast granted me life and favor, and thy visitations have preserved my spirit. And these things hast thou hid in thy heart. I know that this is with thee. If sin, then thou markest me. No, if I sin, then thou markest me, and thou wilt not acquit me from my iniquity.
And thou wilt not acquit me from mine iniquity. If I sin, then thou markest me, and thou wilt not acquit me from mine iniquity. Read on.
Verse 15. If I be wicked, woe unto me, and if I be righteous, yet will I not lift up my head. I am full of confusion, therefore see thou my affliction.
If I be wicked, woe unto me, destruction unto me, as I had mentioned earlier about the destruction. That mark, sin, iniquity, destruction. Go ahead.
For it increaseth, thou huntest me as a fierce lion. Against thou showest thyself marvelous upon me. Thou renewest thy witness against me, and increasest thy indignation upon me. Changes and war are against me. Wherefore then hast thou brought me forth out of the womb? Oh, that I had given up the ghost, and no eye had seen me. I should have been as though I had not been. I should have been carried from the womb to the grave. Are now my days few? Seize them, and let me alone that I may take comfort a little. Before I go whence I shall not return, even to the land of darkness and the shadow of death, a land of darkness, as darkness itself, and of the shadow of death without any order, and where the light is darkness.
Where the light is darkness. Okay. Let's go to Job 13 and 12.
The book of Job, chapter 13 and verse 12, and it says, your remembrance are like unto ashes, your bodies to bodies of clay.
Again, metaphorically speaking, we're being compared to ashes, we're being compared to clay. Your remembrances are like unto ashes, your bodies to bodies of clay. Let's go to Job 33 and 6. That's why you got to look up these precepts. You get understanding of what the scriptures are talking about when it's mentioning these things.
The book of Job, chapter 33 and verse 6. Behold, I am according to thy wish in God's stead. I also am formed out of the clay.
I also am formed out of the clay. Let's go to Isaiah 29 and 16.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 29 and verse 16. Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had not understanding?
So can the clay that's being formed by the potter look at the potter and be like, why are you making me? Why'd you make me like this? Why'd you do this to me? No, can't do it. The potter, he's in control. He's gonna form that clay in the way he sees fit. He's in control of it, not the clay, not the clay itself. All right. But again, this clay represents these mortal bodies that we represent, this house that we inhabit. Let's go to Isaiah 45 and 9.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 45 and verse 9. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. Let the let the
Potsherd.
potsherd, thank you. Let the potsherd strive with the potsherd of
Uh-huh.
the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioned it, what makest thou, or thy work? He had no hand.
So shall the clay say to him that fashioneth it, what makest thou? The clay can't look up at the person making and be like, what are you making? Can't do it. All right. Let's go to Isaiah 64 and 8.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 64, and verse 8. But now, O Lord, thou art our Father. We are the clay, and thou our potters, and we all are the work of thy hands.
So this answers clearly what the scriptures are talking about metaphorically. The Lord is our Father. We are the clay. He's the potter. And all of us are the work of his hands. I'm paraphrasing it now. But now, O Lord, thou art our Father. We are the clay, and thou our potter, and we all are the work of thy hand. All right. Again, how much less in them that dwell in houses of clay. We are put into these mortal bodies, and if the Lord, again, if he can't put his trust into the angels up in the heavens that are right there with him, what makes you think he's going to put trust into us? He can't do it. He can't trust us. Let's go to Jeremiah 18 and 1 through 6.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 18, and verse 1. The word which came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Arise, and go down to the potter's house, and there I will cause thee to hear my word. Then I went down to the potter's house, and behold, he wrought a work on the wheel, and the vessel that he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter.
Was
So
marred,
he, say it again,
was marred, was marred in the
was
hand.
marred, was marred in the hands of the potter. So he made it again another vessel as seemed good to the potter to make it. Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, O house of Israel, cannot I do with you as this potter? Said the Lord. Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in my hand, O house of Israel.
As the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in mine hand, O house of Israel, letting us know that we're the clay, he's the potter, and he can do with us with what he feels. Whatever he wants to do with us, he can do. He's the one that clearly made us. All right. Should be simple now. Should be simple understanding. Let's go to the book of Romans. Let's read chapter 9 and verses 10 through 22.
Um, um, the book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 10. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the children be not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteous with God? God forbid. For he said to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. Therefore had he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will he harden. Thou wilt say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who had raised his will?
Resisted,
Nay,
who have resisted his will.
resisted. Who had resisted his will? Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against God? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? Had not the potter power over the clay of the same lump, and make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction?
And so this is why many of these Christian pastors have no understanding of Romans 9, because they haven't read the Old Testament to understand all these metaphors going into the potter and the clay that we just read. So when they get to verse 21, or actually verse 20, nay, but O man, who art thou that repliest against God? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made thus? This isn't a new thing that Paul is saying. It's not new. He's simply repeating what he'd read in the Old Testament. He's using the same metaphors that he got from the Old Testament. Had not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor, such as in Rebekah's womb? Had one lump that split off into two lumps, and he made one lump into a vessel of honor and another lump into a vessel of dishonor. One lump being Jacob, the other lump being Esau. And he's going to be talking about that vessel that was created to dishonor. What if God, willing to show his wrath to make his power known, endure with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction? Because that's what Esau is. He's that vessel of wrath fitted to destruction. He's that man of destruction that the scriptures talk about. It's Esau, Edom, that beast. All right, let's continue on. Let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verses 20 through 21.
The book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 20. But in great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work.
So here it is again. But in a great house, there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and earth, and some to honor, some to dishonor. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, prepared unto every good work. So we had already pulled this earlier. So it's just bringing it out again to reiterate the fact that we are those vessels. We are that clay, and he is the potter. All right. What kind of vessel are we going to be? If we purge ourselves of sin, we can be a vessel unto honor. If you don't purge yourself of sin, you're going to find yourself in the shoes of Esau, where you're going to become a vessel unto dishonor, a vessel who's what? A vessel of wrath fitted to destruction. You're going to end up getting destroyed with Esau and the other nations when Christ comes back. You're going to get punished. All right. So let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 15 and verses 7 through 19.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 15 and verse 7. And it says, For blessed is the wood whereby righteousness cometh, but that which is made with hands is cursed, as well as he that made it. He, because he made it, and it, because being corruptible, it was called God. For the ungodly and his ungodliness are both alike hateful unto God. For that which is made shall be punished together with him that made it. Therefore, even upon the idols of the Gentiles shall there be a visitation, because in the creature of God they are become an abomination and a stumbling block to the soul of men, and a snare to the feet of the unwise. For the division of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them the corruption of life. For neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever. For by, for by the vanity of men they enter into the world, and therefore shall they come surely to an end. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, when he had made an image of his child, soon taken away, now honoreth him as a God, which was then dead man, and delivered to those that were under him.
Did you start at verse 1?
Now you have 7 to 19.
Where are you at right now?
Wisdom of Solomon 15.
What
Oh no,
verse
hold
you?
on. No. I'm on Wisdom and Solomon 15, but I read on 14. I'm sorry.
All right, yeah, that was like
You,
that
you
sounds more like 14.
that was 14. But you want from verse 1 or you want 7 to 19?
7 to 19. At first I thought he was reading verse 1 down, but I was like, 'cause I know that's not what it
That
is.
yeah, that was it
All
was
right.
14. My
All
bad.
right.
All right.
7 through 19.
Okay. Now Wisdom of Solomon chapter 15 and verse 7. For the potter, tempting soft earth, fashion every vessel with much labor for our service. Yeah, of the same clay, he maketh both a vessel that serve for clean use, and likewise also all such as serve to the contrary. But what is the use of either sort? The potter himself is the judge.
So what it's saying here says, for the potter tempering soft earth fashioneth every vessel with much labor for our service. Yea, of the same clay he maketh both the vessels that serve for clean uses, and likewise also as such as serve to the contrary. Contrary meaning the opposite. He's fashioning one that's served for clean uses and one that's serving for unclean uses. Or, in other words, as we read earlier, one that's fashioned to honor and another one that's fashioned to dishonor. It's the same thing. All right. Let's go ahead and read on.
Verse 8. And employing his labor lewdly, he maketh a vain god of the same clay, even he which a little before was made of earth himself, and within a little while after returneth to the same, out of the which he was taken, when his life which was lent him shall be demanded.
So it's telling us, in employing his labors lewdly, he maketh a vain god of the same clay, even he which a little before was made of earth himself. So saying that just like he's making that god of clay, that idol, he himself was not made that much long ago out of the same what? Same clay. And within a little while after returneth to the same, out when his life which was lent him shall be demanded. So you're formed from the dust of the earth, you're going to return back to the dust of the earth. Let's go ahead and read on.
Notwithstanding his care is not that he shall have much labor, nor that his life is short, but strive to excel goldsmiths and silversmiths, and devoureth to do like the workers in brass, and counteth it his glory to make counterfeit things. His heart is ashes, his hope is more vile than earth, and his life of less value than clay. For as much as he knew not his maker, and him that inspired into him an active soul, and breathed in a living spirit.
So this is the same thing we read about earlier. For as much as he knew not his maker, and him that inspired into him an active soul and breathed in a living spirit. I mentioned earlier in the lesson about he's the one that gave us that breath of life. He's the one that put this life within us. He's the one that gave us this soul. He formed this mortal body that we've got, and he is the one that uh, poured his spirit into us. All right, go ahead and read on.
But they counter our life a pastime and our time here a market for gain. For say they, we must be getting every way, though it be by evil means.
So again, where they're using us as a market for gain, they're selling our people out on what the auction blocks. But they did that to us. Go ahead.
For this man that of earthly matter maketh brittle vessels and graven images, knoweth himself to offend above all others. And all the enemies of thy people that hold them in subjection are most foolish and are more miserable than very babes. For they count all of the idols of the heathen to be gods, which neither have the use of eyes to see, nor nose to draw, breath, nor ears to hear, nor fingers of hands to handle. And as for their feet, they are slow to go. For man made them, and he that borrow his own spirit fashioneth them. But no man can make a god like unto himself. For being mortal, he worketh a dead thing with wicked hands. For he himself better than the things which he worshipped, whereas he lived once, but they never. Yeah, they worship those beasts also that are most hateful. For being compared together, some are worse than others.
Some are worse than others. Go ahead.
Um, Neither are they beautiful so much as to desire in respect of beasts, but they went without the praise of God and his blessing.
And that's the other thing too, in respect of beast. That's the thing that I didn't mention with the mark of the beast. Um, because you have some weird people out there that think that the beast is actually talking about, you see people making pictures of dragons and all kinds of stuff, saying the beast. When it's talking about beasts, it's talking about men. Okay, so you got to also have that understanding when it comes to dealing with the Revelation 13. Um, so let's go to the book of Sirach 33 and 10 through 15.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 33, and verse 10. And it says, and all men are from the ground, and Adam was created of earth. In much knowledge the Lord had divided them and made their ways diverse. Some of them had uh, the blessed and exalted.
Hath he blessed?
Hold on.
Some of them hath he
Yeah.
blessed.
Some of them had he blessed and exalted, and some of them had he sanctified and set near himself. But some of them had he cursed and brought low and turned out of their places. As the clay is in the potter's hand, to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of him that made him, to render to them as like him best. God is set against evil and life against death. I mean, good. Yeah, good is set against evil and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner and the sinner against the godly. So look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against another.
So look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against the other. It's a common theme with him. Theme. All right. Saying the same thing. In much knowledge, actually start, and all men are from the ground, and Adam was created of earth. We were brought up from the dust of the ground. All right. In much knowledge, the Lord had divided them and made their ways diverse. Yes, he's put a lot of different types of people in this world, different nations, different nationalities of people. Some of them hath he blessed and exalted, and some of them he sanctified and set near himself. But some of them hath he cursed and brought low and turned out of their places. As the clay is in the potter's hand to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of him that made him to render to them as liketh him best. Good is set against evil, and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly. So there's always going to be that tension, that battle going on between the two sides. So look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against another. All right, he set it up like this because this is the way he wanted it. Let's go to Sirach 38 and verses 24 through 34.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 38, and verse 24. The wisdom of a learned man cometh by opportunity of leisure, and he that hath little business shall become wise. How can he get wisdom? They holdeth the plow, and they glorieth in the goad. They driveth oxen, and is occupied in their labor, and whose talk is of bullock. He giveth his mind to make furrow, and is diligent to give the need food. So every carpenter and workmaster, they laboreth night and day they cut and grave steel, and are diligent to make great variety, and give themselves to uh, counterfeit imagery, and
Counterfeit
watch
imagery.
counterfeit imagery, um, and watch to finish a work. The smith also, sitting by the anvil, and considereth the iron work. The vapor of the fire wasteth his flesh, and fighteth with the heat of the furnace. The noise of the hammer and the anvil is ever in his ears, and his eyes look still upon the pattern of the things that he had made it. He setteth his mind to finish his work, and watcheth to spoil it perfectly.
To
To
polish it
polish
perfectly.
to polish it perfectly. So doth the potter sitting in his work and turning the wheel about with his feet, who is always carefully set at his work and maketh all his work by number. He fashioneth the clay with his arms, and boweth down his strength before his feet. He applied himself to lead it over, and he is diligent to make clean the furnace. All these trust to their hands, and every one is wise in his work. Without these cannot a city be inhabited, and they shall not dwell where they will, nor go up and down. They shall not be sought for in public councils, nor sit high in the congregation. They shall not sit on the judgment seat, nor understand the sentence of judgment. They cannot declare justice and judgment, and they shall not be found where parables are spoken. But they will maintain the state of the world, and all their desire is in the work of their craft.
And that's why we got to be careful also about how much you put into your job or your work, because you could end up turning around and finding that you're putting so much stock into your work, putting too much energy or so much energy, so much of your time that when you turn around and look, all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute, where'd the time go? I haven't put no time aside for the Most High. You end up forgetting about him. So we got to be real careful of that. But they will maintain the state of the world. And you see that going on with a lot of our people that, they're happy they got certain types of jobs that make certain amount of money that allows them, certain privileges that the common person won't be able to, have. Um, but they don't understand that all they're doing is maintaining the state of Esau's kingdom. And it's like you're doing all this work to help your enemy keep his place, instead of trying to help your people to advance. So it says all their desires in the work of their craft. They don't, you hear a lot of our people say that. They'll be like, I got a job. I do this, I do that. I make six figures. It's like, yeah, but that's not what we're asking. We're asking you, do you know your nationality? Or we're asking, do you know you're an Israelite? Do you know that you're God's chosen people? You know how it is on the streets, and people be like, "Well, get a job," thinking, automatically just because you're standing out on the street with a Bible in your hand teaching that you're a bum or something. It's crazy. Let's go to
Right.
Sirach 21 and 13 through 15.
Okay. Um, give me a second. Hold on. The book of Sirach, chapter 21 and verse 13. The knowledge of a wise man shall abound like a flood, and his counsel is like a pure fountain of life. The inner part of a fool are like a broken vessel, and he will hold no knowledge as long as he liveth. If a skillful man hear a wise word, he will command it and add unto it. But as soon as one of no understanding heareth it, it disciplineth him, and he casteth it behind his back.
So it actually says it displeases him, and he casts it behind his back. But what we're getting out of this is the knowledge of a wise man shall abound like a flood, and his counsel is like a pure fountain of life. So when you come across a man that's full of knowledge, he's going to be full of wisdom. He's going to be a wise person. It says, the knowledge of a wise man shall abound like a flood. You know what I mean? Every word he speaks is going to be words of knowledge, of wisdom, words of understanding. It says, in his counsel is like a pure fountain of life. He's going to be able to counsel you in the correct directions that you should or would want to go with your life. But on the contrary, it says the inner parts of a fool are like a broken vessel, and he will hold no knowledge as long as he liveth. So that's why you got to really pay attention to who it is you're learning from, because many people are learning from fools and they don't even realize it. That you can look at many of these men and be like, well, you're a fool. Exact definition of a fool, of what the Bible says a fool is. And as it says here, the inner parts of a fool are like a broken vessel, and he will hold no knowledge as long as he liveth. You're never gonna grow in this truth. Not gonna, get past the milk, because no studying, no trust and belief in the Most High. You're putting all your trust and stock into yourself and your own ways and what you believe, and maybe some other man. Right? Let's go to Hebrews 3 and 1 through 6. And that's the reason why the Most High can't trust us. He can't believe in his people. He can't trust that we're going to take care of his house.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 3 and verse 1. Wherefore, holy brethren, partakers of the heavenly calling, consider the apostles and high priests of our profession, Christ Jesus, who was faithful to him that appointed him, as also Moses was faithful in all his house. For this man was counted worthy of more glory than Moses, inasmuch as he who had built the house had more honor than the house. For every house is built by some man, but he that built all things is God. And Moses verily was faithful in all his house as a servant for a testimony of those things which were to be spoken after. But Christ but Christ as a son over his own house, whose house are we, if we hold fast the confidence and the rejoicing of the hope firm unto the end.
Christ as a son over his own house, whose house are we, if we hold fast the confidence and the rejoicing of the hope firm unto the end. So Christ is the one that formed us. He's the one that created us. And that's what makes us his house.
Right.
We belong to him. All right. Let's go to 1 Peter 2:5.
The book of First Peter, chapter 2 and verse 5. Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifice acceptable to God by Jesus Christ.
Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house. So we are that spiritual house. All right. These bodies of clay that we dwell in. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 5. You're going to read verses 1 through 10.
Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 1. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacles were dissolved, we have a building of God, and house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For in this we groan, earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house, which is from heaven. If so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked. For we that are in his tabernacle do groan, being burned, not for that we would
Burden,
be.
not being burdened or being
Uh,
burdened.
for we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon that mortally might be swallowed up of life.
So
Now,
when it's talking about clothed, it's talking about being clothed with righteousness. It says, so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked. Being naked means you're in sin. If you're clothed, that means you've been clothed or covered in righteousness. All right. So it says, for we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon that mortality might be swallowed up of life. Go ahead.
now he that has brought us for the self same thing is God, who also had given unto us the earnest of the Spirit. Therefore, we are always confident, knowing that while we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord. For we walk by faith, not by sight. We are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord. Wherefore we labor that whether present or absent, we may be accepted of Him. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that everyone may receive the things done in his body according to that he had done, whether it be good or bad.
And that's what we've been talking about, that um, we're going to be judged according to the things that we've done in this life, the things you've done in this body, the things you've accomplished or didn't accomplish, the works of your hands. What did you do while you were here on earth? Because whatever it is that you did, you're going to get judged for it. And not only are you going to get judged, you're going to either get rewarded or you're going to get punished. That's what it's saying. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that everyone may receive the things done in his body according to that he had done, whether it be good or bad. So you're going to get judged according to the things you've done, whether the things were good or bad. That's what's going to determine, are you going to get the kingdom? Or are you going to not get the kingdom? Are you going to get destroyed?
Right.
Do you have destruction? Do you have a reward coming to you for doing those things that were expected? Or are you going to be destroyed? Or should you expect destruction? All right. So that's going back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of the lesson, that all this comes down to the fact that we are in these houses of clay We are in these mortal bodies. We're only here for a short time. And in that short time, how did you live your life? Did you live that life in righteousness, or did you live that life in unrighteousness? Did you do good or did you do bad? That's what it comes down to. Were you righteous or unrighteous? Did you keep the commandments or did you work iniquity? Which is it? It's going to be one or the other. Whichever one it is, you're going to get judged by it. You're going to receive of what it is that you deserve. As it says, that everyone may receive the things done in his body. Whatever you've done in this body, you're going to receive a judgment for it, whether it was good or bad. All right. So at some point, you're going to die. You're going to return to the dust. And some point, you're going to have to stand before the judgment seat of Christ and answer for the things that you did. All right. Let's go to Job 4:19, because I keep mentioning that we return to the dust. Let's get some precepts that talk about that.
The book of Job, chapter 4 and verse 19. How much less in them that dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth.
How much less in them that dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust. Whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth. All right. Let's go to Genesis 2:7. We're going to show that what I was saying earlier, that man was formed of the dust of the ground. That's right there in the beginning of the Bible, in the book of Genesis.
The book of Genesis, chapter 2 and verse 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul.
And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground. All right, let's go to Genesis 3:19.
The book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 19. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return.
So it's telling us plainly what we've been telling you. We've been saying it throughout the lesson, that we're dust. We were formed of the dust, and we're going to return to the dust. Why can we say that boldly? Because it's written right here in the scriptures. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return to the ground. For out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. So in this small life, this life that's as a shadow, 1 second we're here, the next second we're gone. We're going to have to answer for the things that we did in that short lifespan. As it says, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. We will return unto the dust. Let's go to Psalms 103 and 14.
The book of Psalms, chapter 103 and verse 14. For he knoweth our frame, he remembereth that we are dust.
He remembereth that we are dust. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 3 and 20.
The book of Ecclesiastes, let's see, chapter 3 and verse 20. All go unto one place, all are of the dust, and all turn dust again.
All go into one place. All are of the dust, and all turn to dust again. So there's so many precepts that you can find, tells you the same thing, that we are of the dust and we return to the dust. We were formed of dust, we return back to the dust. Let's go to Job 7 and 21.
The book of Job, chapter 7 and verse 21. And why dost thou not pardon my transgression and take away my iniquity? For now shall I sleep in the dust, and thou shalt seek me in the morning, but I shall not be.
For now shall I sleep in the dust, and thou shalt seek me in the morning, but I shall not be. Meaning, we'll be gone. Not going to be able to find me. All right. Let's go to Job 20 and 11.
Job, the book of Job, chapter 20 and verse 11. His bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust.
His bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust. You're going to take all those sins with you. Just Christ said, you're going to die in your sins. No way about it. If you don't repent, you're going to die in your sins. And then it's going to be too late because you're going to get judged based on those sins you committed. Let's go to Job 34 and 14 through 15.
The book of Job, chapter 34 and verse 14. If he set his heart upon man, if he gather unto himself his spirit in his breath, all flesh shall perish together, and man shall turn again unto dust.
And man shall turn again unto dust. Let's go to Psalms 146 and 4.
The book of Psalms, chapter 146 and verse 4. His breath goeth forth, he returneth to his earth, in that very day his thoughts perish.
His breath goeth forth, he returneth to his earth, and in that very day his thoughts perish. So that last breath come out of your mouth or out of your nose, you return to the earth. You're gone. You've passed away. You're dead. You no longer have that life within you. And in that very day, his thoughts perish. Your mind don't work anymore. Your brain is done. There's no more thoughts. Let's go to Daniel 12 and 2.
The book of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 2. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt.
So that's what's going to happen in those last days when Christ comes back. Many of our people that are already dead, they're returned back to the dust. The scriptures are telling us that when Christ comes back, many they're going to wake up. And some of them are going to wake up to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt, because you're going to get judged based on the things that you did, how you lived your life as you were walking around in this mortal tabernacle, in this house of clay. How did you live your life? Did you do those things that were righteous, or did you do things that were unrighteous? In either way, you're going to go before the judgment seat of Christ, and you're going to get judged based on what you did or didn't do in this life. Let's go to Isaiah 51, verses 7 through 8.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 51 and verse 7. Hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my law. Fear ye not the reproach of men, neither be ye afraid of their revelings. For the moth shall eat them up like a garment, and the worm shall eat them like the wool. But my righteousness shall be forever, and my salvation for generations to generations.
So as it says, for the moth shall eat them up like a garment, and the worm shall eat them like wool. So when we're in those caskets, we're buried under the ground, what's going to happen? Those bugs and insects and things like that are going to get in there. They're going to feed on your carcass. That's what it means by you're going to see corruption. Your body's going to decay. You can't get out of it. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no amount of exercises, no amount of foods or good foods you can eat. There's nothing you can do to stop the inevitable, and that is us dying. Can't stop it. All right. Let's go to Job 24:20.
Job, the book of Job, chapter 24 and verse 20. The womb shall forget him, the worm shall feed sweetly on him. He shall be no more remembered, and wickedness shall be broken as a tree.
So this goes back to what I said at the beginning of the lesson, that when we go, who's going to remember us? The remembrance of us is going to be gone. It's going to fade. Nobody's going to remember who we are at some point. What family members that may be here at some point that remembered you, they mourned you, they have memories of you, at some point, all of them are going to be gone. So at some point on this earth, there's going to come a point to where nobody on this earth is going to remember who you are. They're not going to remember your name, not going to remember your face, what you looked like, what you sounded like, nothing. They're going to have no remembrance of you. All right. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12. You're going to read verses 1-7.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, and verse 1. Remember now the Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun, or the light, or the moon, or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. And the door shall be shut in the street, when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the street. Or ever the silver cord be loose, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitchers be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it.
Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, meaning your body, because you were created of dust. You're that dust is talking about is going to return to the earth as it was. And that spirit that he gave us is going to return back to him, return back to God who gave it. All right. So you got to keep that in mind. Again, how much less than them that dwell in houses of clay. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 12:13-14.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, and verse 13. And it says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
And with that, we're going to say shalom, Most High Christ bless again. Enjoy the rest of your Sabbath, and we shall see you next Sabbath, Lord willing. Shalom.